start recording whoever's
It's on.
on.
It's on.
Okay, good. Might as well.
So, Willow, you there?
She's there. Well, unless she stepped away.
She's probably cooking.
She's probably trying to fix her dinner. This is the dinner hour for some people here.
Willow, if you're there, I wanted to ask you if you were able to see the urgent special message that I put on the pages.
I saw it. Yeah.
I know you did, Vicki. You responded.
Yeah. Who's our special guest? I'm so excited. It starts with a K.
I'm not telling you.
Starts with a K. She's been out.
Me.
No, not that special.
You know me by now. I don't give up names.
Oh, I know you don't. Even when you call, you don't give up names. So. Yeah. So I don't have any little small special projects. I wish I did.
Well, just tell your creative mind to say, okay, open up and give me stuff.
Hopefully this call will give you, ideas.
That I can't,
And, it's not something that I think from what I heard, it's not something that has to have already been submitted. So ask questions tonight. This is your opportunity to ask. And, we'll get the real, we'll get the real scoop about everything. I just talked to Miriam. She's going to be jumping in, everything as far as the business management team is being set up, the PayPal. So we'll be able to accept funds if it becomes necessary real quick. And we're right on target for all this to take place.
Emil says that he's still on his desktop, but he can only listen. He can't do audio or video. So
ask Emil if he has a phone. Tell him to try to call in.
Okay. Well, he can hear us. So, Emil, if you're hearing us, try calling in. Use the link to try to call in, and maybe we can hear you that way. You can give it a try.
Okay, who's 858 just came on?
That's Tina.
Hi, Tina. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Good. I'm glad you got my message. I'm sorry I didn't get back to you earlier this week. Things have been a little crazy.
Yeah, I understand.
But I will get a hold of you tomorrow.
Okay, good. That's perfect.
Okay, thanks. So do you understand what's going on tonight?
About the loss of connection with THI?
Well, that's just, that was going to be what the call was going to be about. But I got a message a couple hours ago, and we could have a special guest here tonight who's going to, who asked if we could, anyone that has a small project ready to go, they will be able to take a look at it and very possibly be able to provide funding. So he hasn't come on yet, but we'll start at 7 and we'll continue with what we had pre-planned. And if our guest comes on, we'll just stop what we're doing and we'll go with that one. Vicki, go ahead.
Yeah, Jim. I'm on the Zoom on my laptop, and everybody cuts out. It so sucks. So might have to say if you could repeat once in a while, maybe if I'm talking with you. And in Ventura County, they're turning off our damn ass electricity for 8 hours at a time. I just got that thing too. It's like ridiculous. This Newsom stupid idiot.
Why are they doing that, Vicki? And
They don't really say, you know what they say? Here's what they always say, that they're working on the system to make it better.
Oh, isn't that comforting?
A full gray area, right?
Oh, yeah. Sounds about right from bureaucrats.
Well, we've already had like 5 of them. Once was two days in a row, one for 10 hours and one for 8 hours. And that was like before this shutdown happened. It's like, it's been ongoing.
Yeah.
It's been ongoing. It's ridiculous.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll chat too and see if we can keep on top of this. Hi, Thomas.
Hi.
Hi, Thomas.
Hi, Thomas.
Nice to see you
Hey,
all.
Thomas.
Hello.
Welcome to California, Thomas, one of your favorite states.
Yeah, we have beautiful weather today.
The people, some of the people are nice, but that state's not particularly healthy,
Yeah.
like New York, sadly. But
Oh, yeah.
it's just a shame that bad people and some not people ruin certain or so many places, really. You know, there's a lot of, I've been on THI in New York, and there's a lot of really nice people in there all wanting better things, but that whole place, you know, I'm getting a bit fed up myself saying born in and born to, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But the sheer volume of it tells you that that's a problem, you know. And we have I had a fairly long op-ed piece in for, is it Wednesday today? Yeah, it's Wednesday, so it's show day tomorrow. That details it right in your face, even more so on a different level. And I thought, I'll take that out and I'm going to put that into a must listen to show. So there's another one coming up that's going to really lay it out of an article someone wrote. And obviously I'll be adding my own pieces in, of which we've covered fairly extensively, and From Russia with Love 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Detailing who and what the problem is. So look forward to that.
Well, thanks again, Thomas, and welcome. Maybe I explained a little bit about how this all came about, but maybe you want to expand on that. For me, it was just a fateful moment. I just walked in the house and clicked on the MeWe. I have it by way of an app, and it brings up all the chats that I have with members on this call.
Yeah.
And I went to the top and I saw your message asking if there were any THI state groups that were ready with projects for possible funding.
Yeah. The gist of it is we've got about $30,000 in the account now. It's probably a bit more. There's another 6,000 to be added. So far we've collected this month, and there's still 11 days to go. And still a lot of monthly donations still to be added. So that's going to be another 7, 8, maybe $9,000. It may get above 10 again. And so, you know, I don't want it to just sit there. It's not my money, and you know, if there's small projects, a few grand here and there, that we can get some people started, and of course, it also is self-advertising in a way, and this is how we're going to grow. You know, the People's Club's not going to grow from the THI members. It's going to grow from the second phase where we've helped people and they've let people know and they want to join. And it's those phases that we really need to tap into now as such. You know, I've been overwhelmed at the generosity of the THI members, not only in terms of the People's Club, but also my Patreon. And, you know, if we can build up the People's Club, then I am entitled to a salary. I could take some salary now out of the funds that are available, but I'm not touching it until, you know, the real bigger funds comes in, because, you know, it's I have the Patreon, but if we get sufficient funds in for the People's Club, you know, then I can take my salary and not need the Patreon. So all that Patreon money can actually go into the TPC also, or a certain proportion of it, you know, which will then bump the figures up, and then we can do more projects or help more people. You know, what a lot of you may have seen, we invested just over $3,000 in a wheelchair for one of the members recently, you know, and there's some of the things that we should be looking at. We're not here to just take your money and have CEOs earning ridiculous salaries. You know, mine was set at around $50,000-$60,000 a year. Why? Because that's all I need. You know, and if I don't need that much, I won't take that much. But I won't be taking anything out of the People's Club until it's got way sufficient funds on a yearly basis.
Okay, so there's going to be a lot of people on the call tonight. Let's all be respectful, use the raised hands mode, and everyone else mute their mics. And I have to say, as soon as I heard received your message, Thomas, the first person I thought of in our group, and there are others who have small projects that they would probably like to propose to you, but Kimberly, who just came on, was the first person that came to mind. She's already has a project up and running, and I believe she probably funds it herself. So, Kimberly, if you want to speak first, just unmute. Thank you.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Thomas. Thank you for being here tonight. Sorry I'm late, you guys. I was rounding up my dogs. I have a project, Thomas, and everybody. I have a project that is a community food project. So where I live, I have some folks behind me, about 25 people who live in a lower income housing, and they are pretty food insecure, and they have been. So we decided that we were going to do gardening, and I started for the seeds for them. I showed them how to do it, how to make seeds grow, what you need to do. So it's not just me doing it, it's them working with me. So we built a hothouse, we have all the equipment, and we've actually tried to scrounge as much stuff as we can first. If we can find it, we can use it. And we've gotten very creative. I'm super excited for them. Our stuff is coming in. We're harvesting lettuce already. We just gave one of the older ladies, they've only lived on canned food for about 10 years. So their health is extremely poor. The sister is gone now. There's only one of the older ladies left. And we just gave them the first bounty of the zucchini. And the funny thing is the zucchini, the cucumbers, the tomatoes aren't ready yet. And the head of lettuce. She remembered me from 10 years ago, Thomas, when I'm on my parents' property, and 10 years ago I had a garden here, and I gave her fresh melons, and I didn't see her again. She remembered me. When I went to give her the zucchini, she said, "Aren't you the one with the melons?" And I said, yes, I am. And so she was very excited. And she can't really help, but she can eat healthy food, and she encourages us. And we're actually in the process of getting some redwood seating put out there for her so she can come out and get outside and sit and just be with the plants. So, the plants are doing amazing. I was just out there with them this morning. We got some trellises up. It's fantastic. So, I don't think I need any project funding because we pretty much are harvesting our own seeds now. We're going to seed save. I'm going to show them how to do that. So next year we're going to put in what they need and they're going to do it themselves. So I think I'm good to go, but I think we're also getting hooked up with the food bank. so that when we start really producing, not only will we feed that community, my house, all of our relatives, we're going to actually go into the food bank tomorrow, the local one, and we're going to start supplying them with food as well. So that's it. Thanks, everybody.
Sorry, go ahead.
Is there a possibility? All right. Do you have the room to expand?
Yes. Yes. There's almost 3 acres on this. Well, their plot, theirs is mostly hasn't been used. They do have a guy that has a wood company, and he does keep his equipment out there, but we have a massive section that we wanted a huge section for watermelons and all manner of things. The problem with that is they were brand spanking new gardeners. They'd never even touched gardening before. They got slightly overwhelmed. So when I was we had 3 days to put in 200 plants. It kind of went awry for a couple days because it was really overwhelming. I had to pull plants back from them because they literally, I think they had 8 zucchini and about 5 cucumbers and 10 watermelon. That was almost more than what they could do at this point because they're so new. And I said, I just want you to be happy and working with the plants and getting food. I don't want you to be upset and not like this because you need to get food for yourselves and everybody else. Yeah, but they have almost 3 acres that we could definitely expand with.
Would you consider a shared venture with the People's Club?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
You know, was that not that we're looking for a return back directly,
right?
Because that's not what it's about. But the idea is we get some food out or more food out that has been invested in by the People's Club.
Okay.
And the return we're looking for is advertisements of who and what the People's Club is. And we appeal to a wider community to put their dollar in per week or more, and then we can help more people. So what we're looking for is a pay it forward. We're not asking for funds back.
Right.
What we're asking is there sufficient people to feed that require that investment, and do we have I hate using their terms, but to keep it simple, a marketing effort whereby the People's Club can draw more people in?
Well, I think we absolutely could. And I know from looking at the profiles, we have an amazing group. It got narrowed down pretty good. We went from a big group to a much smaller group. But I was actually looking at our people's profiles. We have amazing people left they're stepping up. And I'm looking at their profiles. We have marketers and we have all kinds of people. So there's a few people, when I was looking at the profiles, we could get together with them on maybe hold a separate call and figure out exactly how we could do that, Thomas. That wouldn't be a problem. We do have people with that.
Yeah, that's the idea now. We've built the People's Club.
Right.
It's built. We've laid out the visions in the videos I've done in part 1 and part 2.
Yes.
I can't see anyone disagreeing with what was in part 1 and part 2.
No.
Everything's broken down now.
Right.
Everyone, even unawake people can see it. Nothing works, and it's not going to work. And
right.
It's not going to get better unless we learn to look after each other.
Yes. Yes.
And not just in THI either.
Right. Well, they're fully on board. I mean, they literally went from not growing anything and coming from canned food and being really food insecure. They were very food insecure. And now the zucchini, they're just stunned. They're stunned about how you could go from no food to having food. Literally, it's amazing.
Well, sadly, it's become a novelty event,
Yeah.
And this is part of the vision of the People's Club, is that people like myself, because I'm no different, have to learn again to become self-sustainable. And food and water is the priority.
Yes.
Even in the so-called Western countries.
Yes.
The danger is the way things are going. And I've received some rather unpleasant news today. particularly to do with America, it is unless we learn very, very quickly, there's going to be a lot of people starving, a lot, and that's our opportunity. People can sit back and go, oh my God, we're all going to die. Or we can stand up and go, you know what? We've relied on the system far too much, which we all have. Mm-hmm. And now it's our time for future generations to build our own communities. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Waiting for them is pointless. Right. It always was. Right. And so, food has now not only become a priority in Africa and various other poverty-stricken countries, but it's going to become essential for the so-called richer Western nations, right. Particularly America. Right, right. So, they're all boxed off under government programs, and we're going to have to create our own, because right. They won't look after us. They just won't.
Well, this model that I'm working is based on this cooperative working model, and it's brilliant. It really is. There's no boss. They were trying to call me boss. I'm like, I'm no boss. I am not your boss. I'm showing you how to do it, and we're doing it together, and then you're going to do it. And trust me, you will be able to do it. Don't be fearful. This is something you should like doing. And when you like doing it, then you're happy. And when you're happy, the plants are happy. It's all good, and more people get food.
And the other thing is, which is I covered in a show maybe 2 months ago I was talking about the kitchen, and mm-hmm. we use microwaves, which I would never use, but right. And everything's processed, mm-hmm. And you're not like your grandparents or even your parents preparing any food anymore. Right. So you're right. not putting your life force energy in, which right. is enhancing the taste yes. of the food yes. and the beneficial nature to it.
Well, you can take
everything, all the life force energy is cut out of it.
Right, right, right.
So it has other purposes.
I saw that you had posted an article a ways back. I can't remember how far back, but it was about the seasons, how you leave the fields and the ones fallow, and you're rotating in between it. That was a skill from hundreds of years ago, and people have forgotten about that. They have forgotten about how to do that even. And so I think that was when I read that you posted that. I remembered my dad was a rancher, and I remember that. We did do that, and that was decades and decades and decades ago. And, with agriculture now, they're not, they're doing different things, but that is something, if we're interested in healthy soil and healthy people, we do have to go back to that. So that was something I was going to research.
Yeah, and the other benefits of expansion mm-hmm. is at some point, what I would like to do with this project mm-hmm. is to create a teaching course that comes with it.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So you detail all the aspects that then can be put on the website for other regions around the country mm-hmm. to then follow. Right. Because at some point, each and every one of us is going to have to learn of how to grow food.
Right, right, right.
And even if, once the fake lockdown ends, it's not going to be the same. I'm telling you this now. It is not going to be the same as it was before. It's never going back to the same. And so that is our opportunity then to take personal responsibility for ourselves, where we become self-sustainable, not only at growing fruits and vegetables, etc., potatoes or whatever it is, but educating. You could then, once you've done that core teaching program, you can then go on to which berries can you eat. So if you are in a survival mode, and so I would be looking for someone in your group to then take part in that.
Oh, we can do that, because in California, there's a lot of stuff to forage. And I'm in Northern California. I'm past Sacramento. I'm in Chico. There's hills all around me. I'm in the foothills on one side. We have lakes and rivers. I'm close to that Mount Shasta. But, yeah, exactly.
The gates of hell, as it's called.
Hell. It's the gates. I swear it's the gates of hell over there. It's like I look over there, I expect the Eye of Sauron at any moment. It's like, oh my word. But I live with walnuts and almonds. We have all that stuff around here. People can fish. I told them, go fishing. You could go fishing. You can catch the food. If you want to eat the meat, go get the fish. And we had talked about that a long time ago, where I was going to make a short series of documentaries as we are seed saving, as we are doing this and that and the other.
Yeah, you know.
It was hard because they got scared. It was like a deer in the headlights. And a lot of our stuff started to fall through. But I've learned and they've learned. Now they're catching up and they're up to speed. And they're coming up with super creative things. Like today I said, we have to trellis a cucumber. They didn't know it wasn't supposed to be laying on the ground, right? And so I said, what are we going to do? So we went to the back of this area where there's a bunch of stuff. And I found a pole and they found a piece of wire, a fencing wire. And they stuck the pole in the ground and they looped it through the wire. I sat there and went, that's amazing. That's going to work. That's going to work. They were so proud. It was a good moment.
It's empowering people as well.
Yes.
So, you know what you may want to do in your next planting is to document the stages for each. Okay. You know, and then just keep it to one side. And then when you get the time or we can maybe employ someone to go and do that, which can then not only be beneficial to this project, it's going to be beneficial for others who want to do startups as well. Here's what it started out as, and look at it now.
Well, you know, I made prior video, you guys. Remember you guys?
I think I have seen it.
And I actually would go to
impressed.
Yes.
Yes.
So we have it before, and now we have it now.
You know, that would then, I would be looking then for another TBC website. Okay. This is what we funded, and this is what the people have been able to do themselves.
Well, you know what they thought about already? They've already moved to the next jump ahead of me. They said, can we possibly get a little roadside stand? We live next to a highway. They're right face front on a highway. They already bucked up, and they went, yeah. I said, yes, you can. You can.
You know, excess food is then sold because that then not only funds the next harvest or the next planting season, but it also advertises.
Yes, it would be perfect advertising.
So that's the paying forward.
10,000 people is what goes between I-5 and the Highway 99, between where we live. I'm off the road about a quarter mile back, but they're face front straight up on it. So I said, first we secure the food. We get everybody secure. So everybody's coming out. They're picking the zucchini. They're eating their beets. They're getting whatever they want. Then you learn how to do this and you do it again. And then you think about starting to sell stuff. Because you need to be that farmer that does that. You know,
maybe a portion of the profits go back to the People's Club, or maybe they have a jar saying this was in part paid for by the People's Club.
That'd be perfect.
Say the bill comes to $4 and it's $3.67. Do you want your change to go in the jar?
Right.
Which is then going to fund other people.
Perfect.
You know, that's what we're looking for. We're not looking for the payback directly from who we funded.
Right.
We're looking for a pay forward from the people who then want to engage it.
Right. Well, we could definitely do the advertising. I think there's a couple people who are actual marketing and advertisers that have that really great skill set in our group. So we will go through and find those people, and then we'll sit down and we'll have a little brainstorm and see exactly how we can do it. It should be it's going to be simple. Keep it simple and it will be beautiful.
That's what I like. Keep it simple. We have to keep it simple. Yeah. You know, I've just, I've not long come off a near 4-hour call this afternoon. For the business meeting. We have a business team. I'm not really business minded. I've got all kinds of ideas, but you ask me how to get involved in day to day. It's not my field.
Right.
So, people who are being involved in the core pirate, they can give us how certain things work, and then I'll come up with a simple idea of how we take portions of that and make it better into a cooperative.
Right.
You know,
Right.
but that's the only way forward for humanity.
Right.
We cannot
Right.
carry on the old system. We're all going to die. Sorry.
Right. Right. Well, the planting and there are several techniques that we're teaching them. I'm teaching them about how to mix the soils. And actually there's this one that's very popular. It's called square foot planting. It's from the 70s. It's by a guy named Mel Bartholomew. And he takes a box, a 4 foot by 4 foot box. He puts a mix of soil in it and you could grow it right outside your doorstep. This is for apartment people, condo people, anyone who doesn't have very much space, and he harvests a massive amount of food right out of this box. And he literally tells you, plant this here. And he puts a grid with strings across the top and you pop your plants in those holes and you're good to go. And it's, so I'd love to highlight that one. That one.
Well, that's something, the TPC can also get involved in.
Yes.
We can market it in a way, whereby the seller's obviously going to get the bulk, but some of the profits would go towards the People's Club to then, we can then encourage other people to buy it.
Yes.
So then that would go on the website again. And again, it's helping the person and we get something paid forward.
Yes.
You know, if he needs, a small amount of funding to build more boxes or whatever it is, then we can, invest in that. And we come to some agreement with the person, and then we all win.
And that would probably be it. The boxes would be good because we have gophers, and we experimented with using cardboard underneath because we didn't. It's $150 or whatever to get that wire, gopher wire, and we didn't really have it at that time. But the cardboard's been working. But there are better ways, you know, and they're actually becoming quite creative with what they're doing and things they're coming up with. So sometimes
there might be cheaper materials that can be kind of mass produced, which would then create jobs for those people.
Yeah. Yes, that would be.
You know, so there's a number of avenues that we can explore and go forward with. But what I'm asking for now is be aware that we want a teaching program.
Yep. Well, we will definitely want to incorporate. So do you want me to write up like a mini proposal and get it to you? Because I know they need like a couple shovels. It's really minor tools because I had already had a lot myself. And they borrow a lot of my stuff and then we just find stuff. We literally try.
Given this, the space of 3 acres, there must be some people, or hopefully people will know people who are connected to agroponics.
My son does it.
Whereby, we can get a costing of what that would cost. You know, this is what I spoke about with the TPC village. We would have an outdoor garden and an indoor garden.
Right.
Which is where the agroponics comes in. So, you know, it's going to cut down the costs. To produce, because you're not using as much pesticides, you're not using as much water. So, you know, if your team can all get together and find out what the cost per square footage or whatever it may be, it's something, as the fund starts increasing, we would want to look at also.
I think Bill Chelly knows about that. I actually have a video. My son was in college. He just graduated. He did a program and he was actually in charge of aquaponics with the fish. I have a video. It's sitting off to the side right now. But we could get that up on the website as well.
Well, not just the fish. I'm talking about agroponics rather than aqua. Maybe I miss agroponics.
You mean the vertical ones?
Yeah. It saves space. It's inside. It uses less water. It needs less tending to. And so it grows the vegetables or the fruits bigger.
Yes.
Which then creates more food and potentially more profit also.
Thomas, what about microgreens? Because I wanted to get our group into that as well. You can make a lot of money on microgreens. They're very nutrient dense
and they only grow for a short period of time because you're harvesting them as babies. And then they're grown a very specific way. So the startup on something like that would be very minimal. And people buy those by the droves. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, what you would be looking for, if that's a quick grower and a quick seller,
Yes.
is that then grows the business, doesn't it? So you can spend your time developing all the other products that you're doing, whilst not having funding issues, and you can create something from the microgreens and then go, right, okay, well, we're okay for this harvest, and we can actually extend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But that's,
you know?
because that's indoors. So that's a 24/7, 365 day a year process. It would be a business because I know where I'm at in the New Earth, in the Whole Foods type stores I go to, those things are now up to almost $5.99 for a pack, is a little package, like a pint container. They are outrageous. It's like, oh my goodness. But they're
again,
helping.
we can, because this is the idea of the cooperative business, is to cut out the middlemen and the top men, because they're not needed. They're just harvesters, you know, right. and the brokers and those type of clowns. They're not needed either. They're just harvesting, and then the people at the bottom end, which is the staff that does it, and the buyer has to pay for those clowns.
Right.
So that package that's $5 or $6 can actually be produced for $2, and we sell it for $3.
Right.
50% profit, or we can sell it for $4, and then put it into something else.
Right.
You know, we don't have to play them games. That's the core part of game, and that's why the products are so high, because everyone's taking the piece of the pie, and there's nothing left for those.
Right.
This changes it.
Right. Well, the working model we have, it's working. It's simple. It's a small group. It's just, statistically speaking, you have a small target population. Everybody, and the funny thing is, when some of the people start doing it, the people who said they didn't want to do it, they started coming outside.
Well, this is what I'm looking for, is in maybe a few months down the line, we funded something and it's grown a bit more.
Right.
Because then I would ask for one of you to go and do a video.
Yes.
Or an audio, or both. And then I'm going to change from THI shows to TPC shows and go, this is what we've done.
Right.
This is what you can do.
Right.
This is what you can do. In fact, all of you can go and do.
Yes. Well,
they started from scratch.
I asked if I could interview them, and they said yes, they'll go on camera. They were too shy in the beginning, but now that the garden's growing and they've actually done it, they're like, yeah, we won't have a problem telling you how much fun it was and how scary it was and how exciting it is right now, because they're out there every day with their hoses and they're watering and they're coming up with really inventive ways, and they're just super excited when they see little plants coming up. And maybe they don't always make the best decision, but then they'll come to me, or they're Googling information themselves now as well. They're going to go find out. Yeah. They're finding out. It's a learning curve. But when you're feeding yourself, that's a good feeling. And when you're feeding the little old lady who only eats canned food, now she's getting fresh food, that's an even better feeling. That is amazing. And I was shocked that she remembered me. And that was a good feeling, because I was like, I did a good thing, right? And I didn't think about it again. But for 10 years later, she remembered me. And she was like, you got any more of those? And I was like, yeah, we're going to have a lot of those. And you're going to be able to eat those.
Yeah, that's kind of what we're looking for with the People's Club.
Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Actually, I study I have the aquaponics book. Was at one point what was my intention to create a greenhouse to produce food, but it didn't happen. And actually I bought, when this lockdown, all the seeds to start the greens, because also I saw a couple that in their garage, they were making about from $4,000 to $7,000 a week, because they have the rotation, of the trays in a way that they start to have the clients, which they made the order. They said one day, and the husband load the van and deliver, twice a week. And he was, they were making good income with that. But besides that, what for me, I think is important is what you said, that getting the energy, the life force, and that's the most important, because the more the people eat this healthy, they're going to start to think and change, be more peaceful and everything. And like wheatgrass, you can drink, little shot of wheatgrass a day. You're getting a lot of stuff just with a small portion. So wheatgrass, greens, but the problem with that is the cost of, the electricity, and then you need to have, because we have here room already set for, air conditioning, and you need to maintain humidity and the air in a certain quality. But I wanted to dive into create a greenhouse where somehow you use the natural light and you compensate in winter with the LED lights on the night times,
Well, that's again something we can look at. Why do we need to use their electricity when we can invest in a solar power?
Yeah, and actually I work in lighting, that's my specialty, and certain wave of the light, you don't need to use so much power. You just use the wavelength. So I think with solar in that kind of system, and have an automatic system, the control that is minimal, the work once you're set. And actually have a property that, I have water. Actually, I pay the water for it comes from the snow, and I have usable 2 acres, but it's in a slope. That's the only downfall. But we have terraces that we can put greenhouses. So.
Well, what you would do then is build like the terraces in China. You've seen the stair steps. They're also in South America. And that's how they used to grow on a hill.
Yeah, that's what we did that. And I have south exposure, which is sunny the whole year. That's why I think the passive way of creating a structure that, you cover, semi-cover in summer and winter, you put the panels and you keep running the whole year. I don't know, money is always the issue, and you look for ways to make it simple, because paying the electrical bill monthly is a killer. So.
Yeah, well, this is what the People's Club's about, is getting people started and as cheap as possible. Because it's not, when people understand it's not about money, this is about your life force energy. A piece of paper is a poor substitute for your life force energy. And that's why, given the choice, and Kim agrees with this, if we can get hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars into the People's Club, it's far better than getting billions from the trust. For the simple reason is more people are invested in it. The difference between the People's Club and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get everyone involved in it, and then the people have a voice. Whereas the trust, whichever way you look at it, is more of a handout. And yes, it all belongs to us, but it's still not enough energy-wise. It will help a massive amount when it comes out, but you still need to operate in the right way to use it the right way. And this is what I was telling the business team. What you've got to understand about the trust is each and every one of us is the guardian of the treasures of this planet. It's not something to treat lightly. We are now the guardians of the planet's treasures, and we're not going to throw it away like the last lot did. and the one previous also, the dragon and the serpent, they were the guardians before. We have to do it a better way. And that means certainly not making millionaires and billionaires. That's their game, it's not ours. Where we all thrive, not the few. But that's essentially what THI has been tasked to do. We're the guardians, like Kim, for the trust funds and the trust assets.
Excuse me, this is Phyllis. Could I, we have a couple of people with their hands raised. All right if I call on them?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, great. Angela, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Unmute myself. Hi, everyone. I just had this thought, and I don't know if it's doable or not, but I thought it was like a low-hanging fruit. I've had this idea sitting in the back of my mind, like with the way the current situation is. I'm just wondering, I could do some research if there's any like do-it-yourself centers or what do you call it? Like a small mom and pop tool stores or whatever that go belly up right now. It might be a good investment to make and turn it into something like where people can, like a library, like buy like a membership, $10 to $20 a month. And if you need a shovel, you can just go check it out and then bring it back when you're done. And have like that fund, like, that's just going to be like money that just can go straight into the People's Club, like whatever membership that there are to this. It wouldn't be very hard to do. I figured, if it was like a small do-it-yourself store or whatever that right now is struggling just to go in and just invest and buy it and turn it into like a library, like a lending, but you're lending tools, whether, sometimes you just need something to do the job and you don't have it and you don't want to go buy a $200, equipment just to do something. You can just go borrow it because you're like a member of that,
and it's the same things I mentioned earlier. People come in and they borrow a shovel for $8.75. Do you want to change to go into the People's Club? This is what we do. Here's the website. Mm-hmm. The dollar program is very, very simple, and yet bizarrely giving $1 away is seen as a scam to some people, and yet they'll give hundreds, if not thousands of dollars away per year on taxes that they shouldn't be paying and not question it. Or people will spend $5 or $10 or $20 a week on another tax, which is called the lottery. Yeah. Because if it means taking money off the bulk of the people, that is then a tax on the off chance that you might win. Yeah. Well, with that $1 or the $5 you're putting into the lottery going into the People's Club, you're going to win every week. We all are. It may not, early on, it may not touch you, but it's paying it forward because eventually it's going to, as the companies are built and the projects are built and the circles keep connecting, they're going to all start to intersect. And then we have a proper movement for them by the people, which then carries political power. Yes. Then we don't need enforcement with weapons. One email to TPC California, and we've got 50, 60, 100,000 people all operating for the People's Club, and we go, that candidate out, and we all mass vote out. So that it ends the political. All we need now is the numbers. So eventually the power will transfer away from the governments and their fake and failed systems and back to where it belongs, the people. Because then, like I said, you don't need it. You don't need weapons to enforce. You just press delete. We don't want that candidate.
So I'm just wondering, should I like look into something like that to see like, failing businesses like that? Is that something that the TPC can invest in, or is it too early now?
It's probably a bit too early, but
Okay.
it depends on what they're looking at in terms of funding. Like I said, there's about $30,000 in there now, and there's another 6 to add, and maybe another 2, 3, or 4 this month. So it's increasing. It's gone up every month for the last 7 months.
That's for all of United States.
The TPC was about America only. I got the worst job in the world. And that's what the trust says. We're going to task you to fix America, which is just about the worst job in the world. Thanks. Okay.
Ouch.
Well, I like challenges. And so the idea is to actually make this country great. Not again, because it never was. Make this country great for the first time. And it's done by the people, not governments, not agencies, and not military. None of them have served the people at all. So.
Okay, thank you, Angela. We have Vicky with her hand up.
You're on mute, Vicky. There you go.
So, hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on with us. Appreciated. Talking about what Kimberly said earlier about the microgreens and stuff, I have a friend up in Atascadero. He has like, I don't know, an acre or whatever, and he's already doing that. And the microgreens, like you said, they're so cheap to make, and they're really, hot commodity for, your body. It's really good stuff for your body, and they're easy to grow. They're so easy. And like you just said, having them inside that greenhouses, make your greenhouses, and they're not that expensive to make. That being said, okay, and then I want to switch over to ask Thomas you a question. As far as like, having your own power to power these sites or properties to do what we're doing, do we have the information to make those Tesla coils or anything to make that kind of stuff to where we wouldn't have to plug into the grid, like the Southern California Edison grid type of thing? Do we have that kind of technology that we could like make something like that?
Yes, we do.
So that could be part of like, sorry.
I wouldn't fully count on it.
Gotcha.
But we know where it is, where it's all stored, and who protects it.
Mm. There's a few people have done
and there, it's not accessible
that.
unless you have the right intent.
Gotcha. So we would use like recycled water for some of the things where you could.
We have people within the group who have developed technology. In fact, there's a guy in California, they've arrested him twice for nothing.
Oh, cool.
Who's developed a compound that cleans any water, including fracking, including nuclear waste water as well. Right. And so, again, that type of technology with the full trust funds can be housed in the science centre, which, we've already planned for. Building size, equipment we would need, etc., etc. It's all been funded and pre-arranged, and there's a total of 210 different advanced sciences. Some of the sciences would really boggle the mind. That's all I can say.
Okay.
So that would then. I know there's at least 3 people in THI who have got water cleaning projects. Some of them are slightly different. And the likes of the trust would then put them in the science centre, and we can have that built very, very quickly. Like I said, we've done all the planning for it. We've done lots of planning that's not been kind of outed in the shows for a range of things, whether it's food, whether it's medical, whether it's all the sciences, including off-world sciences and so-called off-world advanced technology, most of which belong to us anyway, from the ancient past, believe it or not. So they would be funded. They would have to be housed in the science centre, which would then have a military enforcement team for protection for the staff and the scientists. There would be in-house village, so they wouldn't have to go off. And essentially, it's a self-contained mini city, if you like. And then the condition is that your product would be fully funded, you would be looked after, you would be housed by the trust, but the product belongs to the people. And the patent belongs to the people. So are you doing this product to make yourself a millionaire or billionaire, or are you going to work for them by the people?
Right.
And that's their choice, but then it wouldn't be funded by the trust. Well, eventually those science projects, and there's 210 of them, would then be transferred out to the public. Now, obviously, the People's Club would be first in line, or one of the first in line, to then make use of that technology to then create the jobs to support the technology and then get the products out as cheaply as possible for the people. But yes, we have the Tesla technology.
Sweet. Just a matter of time.
Well, that's the idea of building up the people.
Right.
At the moment, everyone's playing the divide and conquer, not more so than the old media. Believe it or not, I know I've outed a lot of people because I had to out them because they're all involved with Langley and the agencies in one way or another, all the factions. But it kind of disappoints me how few there is. That's a disappointment to everyone. You're going to get a lot of disclosure from a lot of different groups, but they're only going to tell you the disclosure because they're disclosing the other factions. They're leaving out their own.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Veterans today was a classic example. They were really anti-Zionist and anti-Jesuit. Why? Because they were the German Nazis, different from the National Zionists, and it became fairly obvious that they were leaving out the so-called European elites. So, by the power of deduction, it's clearly who they were working for. And that's what people have to understand. There is no group outside of what is connected to THI operating for and by the people. There is none. If there is, fine, come and join us. Be welcome anyone. If Randy Morgans wants to stop playing games and come back, fine. As long as you're going to help the people. I don't care. Drake, even. Because we need as many people on board, because that's all it is. That's all it requires, is having many people being the People's Club. That's why it was called that, Forum by the People. It's not about me or the other two directors. This is about us all building our own power structure and operating in a better way. All the cliches that have come out of the show, think and act different. Well, you can't carry on thinking and acting the same way and expecting change, because that's not going to happen. So we have to think and act different. Need, not greed. You know, Western society has been programmed to be all about greed. And for every millionaire, there's tens of thousands who have nothing. That's how the old system works. But we don't want millionaires. We want everyone to be doing well.
Right. Yes.
And we don't want excessive salaries. That's why I set mine low. Need, not greed. Set the example. You know, because everything over $75,000 to $80,000 a year is waste. It doesn't bring you any happiness, and a study has been done on this. The people who earn more than $80,000 a year are less happy than the ones below it. So extra pieces of paper doesn't bring you happiness. And so that's why we have to change that dynamic. You know, and I've had people come on, I've talked to many of the states now, and they go, well, I don't agree with this very lower end salary. I said, well, I don't agree with the excess salary, because it's harvesting us all, including yourself. This guy was doing particularly well, and now it's all collapsed. I said, well, that's the way it was designed. That's what happens, because you harvested all the funds, and I'm not begrudging you what you earned, but you didn't think of those below you. Well, there's always going to be a bigger guy that's going to come along and harvest you. I said, and now you've been harvested. They've harvested the upper working class, the fake middle class, because there is no middle class. It's all based on credit card debt. You know, it's working class with a lot of debt. Well, that's not middle class. That's the illusion. The upper class have been harvested. The millionaires, like I warned in the Clowns in Panic show last year, are now being harvested, and they're going to get replaced. Like, that's why Elon Musk is selling up. They're going to get replaced, and it's a billionaires game, multi-billionaires game. Well, hopefully those people on their way down will come and join the People's Club, whatever they got left, and let's all build it back up together and show the example of how it went wrong. This guy was very successful, very rich, etc., and look where he is now. Because none of us are any different. Money doesn't make people happy. You know, it's doing jobs. So if this is the job I do is stressful, you know, not to me personally, but I kind of imbalance. But it's a lot to take on. There's a lot of things involved that people just don't see. But it's not a job to me. It's a hobby. So the idea of the People's Club and the projects is that each and every one of you gets into a project that you wish to do, where you can earn a good living doing what you want to do, not what you have to do. That's why society is broken, because nobody's happy. The job environment, the corporate structure, everyone's looking over each other's shoulder. They're competing against each other. Fear. If I say this, I might lose my job. If I don't do this, I might lose my job. And that person's doing nothing, and I'm doing all the work, and only politics that goes on in the corporate structure. We don't need all that. You know, and that's why I don't know whether, well, some of you will have met Liam, who had a few businesses, and he's now adapting them all into cooperative, and people have been offered more money. You know, he was mentioning it today. There's one guy who was offered $400 extra per week and said no. Why? Because he was happy where he was working. And now he's also introduced what we brought up in the show, and in part 2, a 4-day week. And they're still getting the same pay as when they were working 5. In fact, some of them are getting more. And that's what happens when you get into a work environment where it becomes a hobby, not oh my God, it's Monday, I've got to go back to work, and you're counting the days down till Friday, and the cycle just repeats.
Thomas, in order...
Excuse me, Estella. I'm sorry, Estella. Could you hold the thought? Because Sean Willits is the next to his hand raised. I'm sorry. Thank you. Sean?
Hi.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, apart from that spy. I can see a spy.
You're talking about my cat or?
Yeah, the spy, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I like cats. Yeah, no, I just have a quick question. It's great to meet you, by the way. I work in animation, and I'm wondering what your thoughts on, just like advertisement and like media is, because I would love to help out in that kind of area, because that's like my skill set is animation and stuff like that. But,
well, yeah. Well, that's something, that can be adapted, for the website. Maybe you could have an input on that.
I think it's just like would be something simple, like you say. Like it's not like super complicated. It's just
eventually, you can incorporate it into some of the projects.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Where it becomes some sort of an advertisement of the People's Club. So we're going to need, as it grows, we're going to need less of groups and more of committees. So we would have a whole farming committee. We would have an animation and website and design committee. We've already got a business team that's been grown, and we had, I don't know whether they're still going, the charter school. So these are all things that we're going to need to build the People's Club.
Right.
All the skill sets are going to be required, and eventually, as we grow bigger, we're going to need committees. And that's why I asked everyone for the skill sets, because we, particularly early on, we wanted to keep it as much in-house as possible. Why do we have to go and pay X amount, $10,000 to do X, when we have someone who will be happy with half of that in-house, or even the same amount? I would sooner go in-house than give it to some stranger who doesn't know what the People's Club's all about. Right. So, the skill sets, and this is why I asked in one show, where I said, if you can get all your skill sets together and come up with some ideas where you all fit in the same project. And if it's not one project, 2 projects. So after 2 projects, you're all working in and for the TPC.
Right.
That's the idea. And then as it starts expanding, and we're pulling people in and we get more funds, and then we take over certain businesses and adopt them into the People's Club cooperative model. That flower keeps growing.
Right.
Like your garden, Kimberly.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I was thinking I was thinking of coming up with ideas for like a logo or something, like a cool animated logo to get people's attention, just like something that I can use to promote it, promote the People's Club.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic, yeah.
Great, yeah. Now I'll run it by the club, run it by everybody in the, when I have ideas. It doesn't come often, but when I have something, I can show it to you guys and see if I want to go through with it or whatever. Yeah. Have to help, really, in any way, but that's my skill set.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. You could talk to Angela, because she's got some interesting logo ideas and some graphics too. She's part of this group. Okay. Wonderful.
I think Angela sent me some, and we have used one of them, or I hope he's put it on. The brown tree, I think it was one. I asked Michael to put that into the website, so I hope he's done it.
Great.
I kind of push on Michael a bit too much.
Great. Yeah, I can use all the ideas I can get. So that's great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, Sean Neal has his hand up.
You're on mute, Sean.
I got it. Hello, Thomas.
Hi, Sean.
Now you get to see my face, my white hair.
And now you get to see mine. I told you I had the perfect face for radio.
Oh, hey, yeah, I guess I do too. Look at me. I look like an old gold miner now. Because my hair turned white, my beard's all white. But anyway, besides that, Sean Willits, you got a lot of talent. I want to become your friend on the internet and a personal friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, hey, you have the wee little people leprechaun spelling, SEAN.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you don't look like one of the wee little leprechauns, though.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Let's friend up on that. Anyway, back to Thomas. Tommy? Giant Tommy, please.
No, I'm tiny, apparently. Well, I am tiny anyway.
Yeah, right. The most giant guy in the universe as far as we know it. And then, yep. Well, tiny people, you know how they are, right?
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So, anyhow, yeah, I wanted to go over a couple of things that I want to do. I had already years ago in my background, which was journeyman carpenter, and then raised by my parents into that, got injured, and I was always a musician. Ever since I was 5 years old, I decided that's what I wanted to do, right? And so I did not want to get involved with being a rock star because it's too weird. I mean, I toured through Canada and the United States, and it's just too strange. Then, all the weird stuff came out. I'm going, geez, what are these guys doing? Here's Alice Cooper. What is that all about? I thought it was about the music. Anyway, so I got injured, and then I went into, I found my way into financial planning through a preposition, or not a precognition. And it was about people getting screwed by Wall Street. And so I battled Wall Street and the banks for 25 years. And then, wow, last week in the business, cool, $53,633.38. Cool. Okay, great. Now, so my mom had the beginning of 4 horribly failed operations. And so I stayed with them for 4 years and saved my mom's life through vitamins and minerals. At the last minute, they showed up when the heartbeat is just almost not there, right? This is the truth, folks. And Mom, you're not going to baby Jesus yet. You're going to live. And she wanted to live. I asked her. So anyway, in the meantime, after a whole bunch of problems with that by the medical people who wanted to throw me into a round room for doing the right thing, you know how it goes, I wound up being broke and homeless, and every deal that I had going on that was just perfect for them just fell apart. So I wound up homeless, and instead of going to the drug deal in Fresno, the city of Fresno, I stayed out in the wilderness for 6 months. Stay away from that. Anything's better than that jungle. I'll take the forest rather than the jungle any day, right? So I finally got some housing. Then because I had my dog Scotty Boy, the most beautiful dog you ever seen in your life, he passed away, and he got me, well, people complained about him because he was old and he smelled. So So we got thrown out. So then I'm homeless for another 6 months and blah, blah, blah. But to make the long story short, I still want to do financial, estate, and pension planning. I'm not a stockbroker. I'm massively against those guys, always have been, and the banks. And I want to do financial, estate, and pension planning for whatever is needed for whatever way that it evolves into through the changes that are going to take place, which I don't know what they are. And then besides that, I also want to, and I have had this want since I was taking care of my mother, and since natural cures has been a serious hobby of mine, that I want to start what's going to be called Real Care. And that's really going to piss off the CEO for Blue Cross when he calls our place up and says, Real Care? Why, that's preposterous. You can't do that. Send the police. Oh, send a SWAT team over there, right?
Well, yeah, this is, we're going to run into them eventually.
Yeah.
But if we go under the radar for long enough and build the numbers up, eventually it's going to hit the police force and so-called authorities, and we will have the power to tell them what to do, not the other way around. Because particularly politicians making wrong decisions against the people. A lot of them don't do it deliberately because they don't have any control. They're told what to do and what to vote.
Blackmailed.
Yeah. And to say, you mentioned Wall Street basically shafting everyone. Well, I'll tell you now, as the upper people shafting Wall Street, because Wall Street lags 7 seconds behind real time.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And that's the most expensive real estate in the world, is if you're plugged in right next to Wall Street and you got seconds ahead, 7 of them. Yeah. Known that for a long time. Yeah. Wow. Insider trading is everywhere with every politician, but especially them, right? So.
Well, this is why I said there's no financial experts. There is none. I'm not proficient in finance, but I know more about finance than so-called experts. Why? Because we've actually been involved in the back system banking, right, which is where the real trades take place. The front system is the illusion. That's your bank teller and your ATMs and your markets. But the real trades with the 7-second lag all go onto the back.
Oh, yeah.
System of the bank, which the average bank has no idea it exists. They have no clue. They think the front system that everyone sees is the same as what everyone sees. No. All your gold, all your weapons, all your high-level trading between agencies and off-world and others is all done on the back banking system.
I couldn't agree more.
So there is no financial experts, none. They're basing their expertise on the illusion of the front banking system.
Yeah.
And this is where the likes of Kim comes in. She's worked as a front in the banking system. She was doing gold deals on behalf of America with Russia before she became trustee. So she's seen the front and back system. In fact, the both of us have worked on the front and mainly the back system of transferring it to the front, which then protects the back system and allowing zero access by anybody other than the trustee. because
that's great.
every one of them, 36,000 backdoors into everybody's account.
Yeah.
36,000 into Jim's account, Phyllis's account, Angela's account, Sean's account, Kimberly's account.
Yeah.
And yet, 36,000, that's now down to one.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people, you know, why does a university have to have access to your bank account? Hundreds of universities.
Yeah.
You know, you would expect maybe one or two of the agencies, FBI, CIA, for money laundering transactions, but given that they are the money launderers, it's a bit ironic, really. And maybe the IRS and maybe a government department, but you've got universities in China who've got access to your account.
But Thomas, isn't this why it's important, as that old system, like you've said a million times, as it's going down, we have got to step up with TPC and be that steps in its place, because then we become the enforcement. The people with the actual organic life force, we are enforcing.
Yeah.
And we focus on what we want to create, what you've already started and kept it simple. And we're already in our small way initiating that. And you see it transfers from person to person to person. That kindness, that love, that giving and the caring and the sharing, it literally is a life force unto itself. And it goes from person to person to person. So
this is the gist of the source energy we released in May of 2018. You know, without certain clearings that went on, that would have been a complete waste of time. And so you had to clear things out, and this is kind of what the TPC is doing, is clearing some things out, knowledge that is not required going forward, ideas and ideologies that are not required going forward, and how we're going to do things in a different and better way for the all. So the way energy works, to impact everyone, it has to go in a clockwise fashion. So money was being operated in the same way as energy, because they connected into all the grids, the earth energy grids. And what they essentially, to use the clock analogy, they would go to 1 o'clock, and that had to be shared amongst the people.
Right.
Just 1 o'clock. The rest of it went anti-clockwise, harvesting out the back door via the back banking system. All of it. You know, the Pentagon would get, for argument's sake, 500 billion. The day they received 500 billion from the government, 250 billion went out the back door. And that's gone on for years. And the Pentagon did what about it? Nothing. So there's your fund, the Pentagon, to go and do what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And the rest went out the back door.
Right.
And that's how the banking system was working. And so it only touches the people who are between 12 and 1 o'clock.
Right.
So with the source energy, it's starting to creep more. It's gone way past 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. It's starting to cycle clockwise, and eventually it's going to reach 12, and then it's going to continue.
Spiral.
And so once it's in a fully clockwise position, everyone is going to touch the energy and share in it. And the financial system should operate in exactly the same way, because money is the same energy.
Right. It's life force.
So that's what we're intending to do. It's like when we were discussing earlier, you know, we're funding, we're not asking for it back.
Right.
We're asking for it to be paid forward by other people, so that they then become part of the caring and sharing.
So
and then they teach somebody else, who then teaches somebody else, who then teaches somebody else, and suddenly it all comes back again.
right. I see it when you say 1 + 1 with the 1 as source energy in a flow. That's how I see it. And then when they use computers and algorithms, the 1 + the 0 and the 1 and the 1, that's them disrupting us. That it feels like the 1 + the 0 at the 0 point, it's like a phase out, and they're stealing energy from us. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, well, the 0 point is 0 energy, and that's where, but then you have the potential then to turn that 0 into a 1.
Yes.
By your own life force manifestation abilities.
Yes.
So
Perfect.
there is no 0, it's fake.
Right.
It's
That's
not a
fake.
real number. It's
Yeah,
it's inorganic.
Yes.
And it was kind of interesting that the EBE mentioned that they brought in the binary. They may act like they're interested in humanity, but they're not.
Right.
Most of the ones I've dealt with are not interested in humanity. You've got a very poor outlook of us and they just want to harvest. Well, that's stopped now. But we cannot carry on acting like children, competing against each other. One person has 7 zeros, 6 zeros accounts, another one can't even find $1 for a coffee or a bread roll or whatever. That's not right. And that's childlike. You've all seen kids, you put a bundle of candy out and there's always one kid that picks up with 2 hands and runs off. Well, why are we doing that as adults?
Right.
That's child behavior, and if you don't play my way, I'm taking my ball home. Well, as adults, we're doing that in the corporate society. Mm. If you don't listen to me, I'm not doing it. It's child behavior from an overview, and we have to become adults again. Mm-hmm. We have to, and that will then prolong the species, because we were on the brink of being eliminated as a failed experiment. And it's up to us all to save that. And we're the only ones who can. There's nobody, no God's coming down to save us, no Jesus, no Allah. I don't care which God you support. They're not going to save you or me or anybody else. We have to stand on our own 2 feet and then build a world that requires a protection, which would be the only reason ever as an adult society to require military is defending from outside forces. Not military to fight each other's country. That's childlike behaviour again. And that would be a global force, not US military or the UK military. Global. So we're protecting the species, the people. Not one country is better than the other. It's countries are an illusion anyway. Cabal are not interested in countries, they're just pawns to use in the game.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you. I'd like to call now on Estella. Thank you for your patience. Bye.
Okay, I have several things I would like to comment. I understand because I experienced when you said, working, when you do what you are passionate, you focus on the work, what you're doing and on the money you're making. That's the story of my life. But the story of my life is I experienced that the system screwed me over, and it's always like, working in a second job to pay the bills or the things that, it's not enough. Or so what I want to add is we need a support system, because the moment everybody has a house, it's a healthy home, and you have your transportation and you have the minimum needs that you need to live, you're not thinking anymore that, I need to pay, I need to fix the house. Like now I don't have water heater in my house, And I make $85,000 a year, and it's not enough to even fix my house. So
not in your state. That's the problem. But
why just let me finish, please.
Sorry.
It's not about the numbers. It's about the condition. And what I see about the People's Club is, like you said, we start with with a little project, but then building this network, a support system that we move between the nodes, the different elements that support us to be sustainable. That's the real sustainability.
Yes.
Because we support each other. Instead to go and spend, $7,000 in insurance a year, I get the same support with, half.
Yeah.
And I don't need, that's what I think is important to think at that level and start to, bring in the new ideas and way how we can financially, it's like it's a quantum system of our life force, because when you are centered in your heart and you work from your spirit, the universe provides to you. And I experienced that because you don't need to think it's like, I'm going to take about $3,000 extra in this job, because you did it right. And you have the good intention that there is a win-win situation. We all win.
Yeah.
The abundance come. But that takes also talk about these things, because people don't think from that concept of like the flow of your energy.
No, it has to be taught.
Yeah, and I want to share this. Last week, Willow shared us about the pendulum. She was doing clockwise the measuring of energy of different things. And she even talked about the chakras. And I believe in synchronicity. I already scheduled to learn to do sound toning through breathing. And I did a course with a woman that she found the tone of my chakra, specific, music. And the first time I did the exercise of breathing with just the tones of letter E for my root chakra. And I did all the chakras. When I finished, oh my God, my body went in completely pain and this and that, not feeling good. But the next day, I was in completely peaceful, center, clear thinking. I was able to work, deal with stress, and it changed me. And I think understanding these natural, simple things that we have, how we can use our energy to, use it right. Because it's not about the money, it's about how we put our energy, and also not even thinking the negative,
Yeah, one of the things we can change, because it has been mentioned tonight, the term harvest. And we replace that with harness. So we're harnessing it, and then we share it. Harvesting has a real bad connotation. And yes, it's related in food, but you have to remember, we were the food at one point.
Another thing, I don't know if you know this gentleman. I've been learning about quantum plasma, and I've been taking this online class with it's a physics, and they create this plasmatic water in agriculture, but there is something I don't trust, and because they talk about
trust your intuition.
Because that's why I joined THI, because I believe in humanity, but like you said, there's so much deceitfulness and I feel like everybody's in cahoot, right now, that they're trying to get all the people. And I just wanna, I've been doing that, and I'm kind of winning away. And I'm doing this with sound, because first the creation was sound, and then light, and then matter state. And just like we are creators. And what I believe, this is gonna come like a flow of a river, because we all want the same thing, and we're going to create together because the cooperative vision. But it's kind of, I don't know how to do the transition because I'm a slave to my job, you know?
Well, this is the idea: is we develop projects, we get enough funding, develop projects, and put you all in the projects, because you've all grown up with the THI and all the cliches, which are not really cliches, they're new lifestyle patterns of how we as humans want to present our image, not their image. We've lived life in their image, not ours. And so the reason why the frequencies were helpful is because at the core of everything to do with life is a frequency. The wind, sound, light, illness is a frequency. If you find the tone that matches the frequency of the dis-ease, that dis-ease disappears. And it's the same as people who can materialize and dematerialize. It's only a frequency change. It's like the Sasquatch. They can...
That's what we're learning right now, is how to work from plasma into matter state. And so I've been learning all this stuff, but I don't understand. I don't know if there is transparency in everything what they say, because they're talking about one nation, one race, and one this and one that. And it's a foundation, and I just, you know, I feel how they suck my energy.
Well, if that's the way you feel, then that's not for you. But, you know, who was it before? Sean. He needs to trust his own abilities more. Stop doubting yourself. You are capable of much more than I know. So, and you're the same. And we've all been that way, where we label ourselves. Who was it before? Sean. I was a joiner. Well, does that define who you are? That I'm a joiner, or I'm a banker, or I'm a radio show host? No, it doesn't. That's a limitation program. We're capable of doing anything and everything, providing you put your mind to it. You know, I wasn't a particularly good speaker. The first thing that people said to me was, what? Because they couldn't understand me or hear me. And that was in the UK, never mind America. So the idea of me at one point becoming a radio show host would have seemed preposterous to me 10, 12 years ago. But I've done it. You know, most people can understand most of the show. You know, and so does that define me? Well, I've done all kinds of different jobs, but I wouldn't say I am this. No, I am this for now. But I'm capable of doing this, and you could just keep on listing it. We have to stop the limitation program of I can only do this, because every one of you is capable of doing so much more.
Thomas?
That's the system.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Sean? Yeah, I don't have any doubts in myself. I have my limitations because right now I'm a caregiver through the county for my roommate, and it's a 24-hour-a-day job. But still, I'm putting in at least the effort that I possibly can on going over and learning everything that I can learn, like I have been. And so I was wondering, see, I got we got sidetracked. And anyway, well, I'm wondering what's most important, because it seems like to me, and it always has, that what needs to be done is what Kim Hagstrom and the rest of the people have decided, which was number one, is feeding the people, getting a distribution to them.
Yeah, well, you know, 5 months ago, if you just said we're going to have to feed all the people would have laughed. No, that's for African countries or India or Pakistan. Well, no, welcome. But this is what our warns and Kim did back in 2017 when we said that they're going to financially assassinate America and turn it into a third world country. Well, look around you, and
I get it. That's why I gave up on real care for a while.
This is an opportunity to us to step in.
It sure is.
They don't know what to do. I can tell you that.
So I prioritized myself, Thomas. I have not given up or been fearful of what I'm doing. It's just merely that it's a matter of timing and priorities over both my projects. And also, there are so many advancements that are out there that I don't know about yet that you and Kim and your team know about, and a lot of other people know way more than I do. It's just been a serious hobby of mine, and I've gotten people well. But, there's more advancements, so I'm wanting to shelve it for now and follow along with what Kimberly Hagstrom has planned, and Bill Shelley and the other really lovable, respectable people here, like Estella and, Pam Joni, and I'm sorry I forgot other people, but
yeah, I get what you're saying. And this is just the start. The only thing that stops us is a lack of effort. Well, we have to double our efforts because we're low in numbers per se. But as those numbers increase, that doesn't require as much effort on the ones who started it.
Yeah.
It's like me. I started off the People's Club. I had a vision all in my head, and then I got it out into part 1 and part 2. And then I passed over part 3 to the business team of Lawrence, Mark, Lacasse, Alan James, and Liam Torrance, who's been doing the cooperative model. And we added another one today. And Alan is going to do part 3, not me. And the reason for that is I don't want it to be about me, because it's not. And so Alan, they're building part 3 as the show, and that'll be what projects we should be looking at, how we should protect the groups, maybe how we distribute or redistribute profits. Whether, it's one of the things that was mentioned, you can put the profits back into the People's Club, whether it's the central one or if it's built up sufficiently. The idea I ran by Kim is the People's Club, for argument's sake, California, becomes the bank for the state of California. That's another one of the long-term visions. So we're not only creating businesses and jobs, but also protecting our funds. Why do we have to put it in Morgan Chase or Wells Fargo? No, why? If we had the funds out, we can then create our own banks. We don't need theirs. So suddenly the people connected to the People's Club would all bank with the People's Club, knowing the funds are going to be looked after, and 90% is not going out the back door to start. And so, because that's what happens with a bank, you put $100 in, they take $10 out and put it in the bank, and $90 is then borrowed to us at 17%. Do you get that profit back? No, you don't. And so I would be looking for the TPC California to become the bank for the state, for and by the people. Again, we're cutting out all the CEOs, we're cutting out all these middlemen and brokers and snake oil people, and we're just looking after the people. So, it's not just the TPC is not just about business, because the cooperative is business, it's psychological, it's social, it can go into various other regions like banking, which would then be turned into a cooperative, so that everyone in the state of California is a cooperative part of that bank. And then obviously we would have TPC candidates going forward for politics. So we have people who have been taught in the right way, gone on to develop in the right way, and gone on to teach in the right way. And they're the type of candidates that we want as the people, as representing us in government. That's
okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to
long-term vision.
That would be excellent.
Okay. Sean, I'm going to bump you now. I've got some people backed up here.
Yeah.
Okay, Bill Chelly, you've got your hand up. Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, and thank you, Thomas, for coming on. I wanted to rewind a little bit to the beginning.
Yeah.
And her farm up there.
Yeah.
And the farm's great, but it's only going to go through one grow season. So, and then Thomas brought up at the end, why don't you do an inside farm, which your son is highly skilled at? And I forget, does he do that at college, or is he, is that like a job? What is that, Kim?
He was managing the aquaponics. He's since graduated. So he's waiting to get in. I think was waiting to get his diploma because he wants to go do wine grapes.
Oh, okay.
So he's he has still a knowledge in that, with the aquaponics. But I think like Thomas was saying because I know Bill, you like aquaponics, but vertical growing that's really,
fine.
It's really cheap. Yeah.
I'm good with I've looked at that as well, and that's awesome. But what
the idea behind it then is you have an all year round growing,
right,
and not so-called harvesting season.
Because if you got 4 acres, you could just start out because they're easy to expand on. So if you could get like a test model. But the thing is, it's going to show that there's something there. It'll be like an eye grabber, and marketing and stuff is really hard. I've been in the rest, forever, and social media and all that's difficult. But if you've got a stunning looking outdoor farm that grows year round, that produces year round in 5-week cycles, and I'm not sure how the vines go. I think they go 8 months instead of 4, but I'd have to relook at that. But anyways, you're constantly going year round. You got your stand by the freeway. And that the best marketing tool is product and, a story, and you've got both. So, I think that would be a great test to start out, especially for, let's say it takes 6-8 months, and I don't know when the funding's going to come out, but it would be a good test for us, for you, for all our group here, since that's one of our major projects we're looking at. If you could get that up and running,
that's what I was looking at with the TPC village, is we'd have an outdoor garden and an indoor garden. The way I envisioned it is that the community would look after it. They would get the benefits of the food, and the excess would then be sold to the public and then notify them of, well, this is the People's Club Village. This is what we do. And then the profits can go back into the garden for the next season. And also, the school, that was going to be central to the village in the centre would have a bridge over the road into the garden, and part of the school curriculum would be teaching the children of how to grow food themselves.
Right.
It's part of the curriculum. So, it had multi-purposes to it.
Right. Well, you guys, I think Estella, we could have more than one farm, because I think Estella, if you're still on, she has like 5 acres. We could focus on a poly.
Yeah.
Stella, could we run a polytunnel on your place and do indoor?
Yeah, actually, I tell you about my land. I have a pond right now that is like it's big, full of water. It's like I love this place. That's why I'm living here. But that's natural water from the mountains, and it's perfect pH. And then I have a small house, and I have 5.25 acres, all south exposure, and I live in a small town. It's called Georgetown. It's the last town into the forest. We have a charter school, actually my son, because we ran from LA because the school system, he's finishing high school in a charter. And I discovered all the horrible things of the education. And I think the kids are the main objective to educate them and change the way of thinking, because completely rotten their brains. It's like we have to reopen to, to think different. Yeah.
We have to rewire people's brains because most people are running around like bots.
Right.
Just copy and paste.
And I think it's
after me. Sorry. No, carry on.
I think this thing of the aquaponics, building, like my son loves, like mechanics and things like that, like you said, boys, bring the young people to start to, help us. And I want to do the aquaponics. I bought the book in 2012, the aquaponics book. And also my daughter and the boyfriend, they became experts of, what's it called? The compost tea. They learn how to heal the soil. And I learned, because I have no clue. I'm a computer girl. And what I learned is the plants and the trees are like humans, and there is this symbiosis. And when you work with a real intention, it really thrives. And they give you what the people need. It's like this consciousness interaction of souls. It's like incredible.
So Estella, I have a question. What if we terraced up the side a couple levels and put a couple polytunnels, so that way we could run outdoor on mine as a test and indoor on yours, like Thomas was saying? Then we have those two components, and we can get that ready when we start the village. You want me to come up where, and we can get together?
Yes, and actually, what we should do is I have a room already, wire everything to do indoor grow.
Okay.
And I would like to test the model of create a passive, greenhouse that, to see, we have this winter to work her out to see how.
Well, then we could get both components. We could get both components of the village going right now. So we could have you doing indoor polytunnels. It would just be like a hoop with the poly over the top, and that's considered indoor. And then I
have materials for that, because we fell in the cannabis business. So
okay, perfect.
So I have material. We probably only need to buy the plastic and some rebar and
Well, let's get together privately, and then we can do that, and then we can report back to everybody.
Another important thing, I learned this from the Romanian people, because in this plasma class, what they do in Romania, they connect like the People's Club, and what they do, they create these bags of seeds, and they give it to the people. So a great idea would be because seeds, right now we can buy, but we don't know what could happen. I think we need to create a seed bank and learn how to, from the same crops, we save the seeds to grow more. It's like, it's the power there. And we need to think at this level, because that's what I did the first thing. I went and I bought seeds like crazy. I still don't have the garden, but I have the seeds.
I'm no gardener by any means. It's just not me. But, some of the tomato seeds will make more tomatoes. Someone posted a video about, I don't know, some green plant. Like I said, I'm not gardening proficient. And they just cut a slither off it, put it back in, and it grew again. It may have been a lettuce or a cabbage or something similar. And again, these are very simple things that the majority of us have no idea. We'll just discard the husk of a lettuce or a cabbage and just go, okay, without realizing that can grow again. And many of the plants, you just take the seed out or a cutting and put it back. Once you get a good crop with the proper seeds, you don't have to keep buying seeds. And that would be what I was looking for early on, is behind all the growing and supplying the food, there has to be a teaching program put out by the People's Club. This is how you do it. And here's the video showing us how we did this and how we did that, and how we don't use this pesticide and we don't have to use this, and develop it into a whole program so that everyone can understand what they're doing in a very basic level, and we can all become self-sustainable. We don't need their shit. We never did. That's just laziness, and that's humanity all over. We're not lazy work-wise, and some are. We're lazy-minded because they programmed out of us that the government will look after you, or a higher force will look after you. Well, they haven't. So we have to stop playing to that illusion and start looking after ourselves, because nobody else will. I think everyone anyone who had any doubts about that are under no illusions now. I've watched how the government have performed, and it's not Trump's fault. It doesn't matter who's in there. The government's not there to perform. They haven't got a clue what's going on. They haven't got a clue how to fix it. They can't even get the stimulus checks out. Here we are, 7 weeks later, and well over half haven't received it. And they come up with all kinds of ridiculous excuses. The IRS equipment is outdated. Well, why did you select the IRS to begin with if you knew that the equipment was outdated? It's all rubbish. They've got no money. So, nothing has been handled the right way. So we have to take our own responsibility and start looking after each other, because they're a waste of time. They have no knowledge. They have less knowledge than all of you on this call that have listened to THI shows regularly. And that's frightening. It's empowering to us, but it's actually frightening that millions of people are relying on a group of people to fix things for them who don't have the knowledge to do so. Not even combined. And that's why I asked the council for the UN address, so Kim and I can tell them what the whole structure was, because none of them have a clue either, including the Rothschilds. They have no idea what was above them. None. They know about the others and the Draco and that, but they don't know the structure that THI members know. The parents, the Draco, the cousins, forget it. Well, if we're going to build new, we need the knowledge. And that knowledge is going to help more the so-called upper order to realise they've all been played as pawns. Every one of them is a pawn. Whether you're Rothschild, whether you're Rockefeller, whether you were one of the Covens or one of the parents, you were all pawns to M. All of them. And so that we need the upper order to get off their fake pedestals and come and help, because they're all going to die. They're all going to kill each other. They already are. They're going to harvest each other, and we don't want their blood spilled on our planet. It's not good, energy-wise, blood being spilled on this planet in particular. We don't want it. Yes, we want rid of them, but I would sooner try and teach them rather than just eliminate, because that doesn't solve the problem. You have to teach the program out of them, and we're teaching a program into people of how to operate in a better way. And that's why I've said all along, the TPC is not about businesses, projects. It's a teaching program of how humanity has to go forward.
Okay, I'm going to butt in here. We have Charles who's had his hand up.
Hello, Thomas. Glad that you're on the session tonight. So kind of a comment about the growing is that most of the food that you have that you dispose of can be composted and used to grow your plants, and they will grow a lot healthier, bigger. Grew up on a farm, so did a lot of gardening and.
Well, that's a fantastic idea. So, in the small communities, like Kimberly was mentioning, and I think Estella's even smaller, please bring all your waste food and drop it off. We can have a big container, just drop it off. So we're not throwing mountains of waste away, but reusing it, recycling. Because that's essentially what the trust funds are, being recycled in a better way. So that's another idea. So thanks for that, Charles. It's a good idea.
No problem. Now, I kind of have a question. You were talking about how most of the people are still children, and they need to be educated to be able to move forward, and really educated to get past their own blocks that they have in their minds.
Yes.
So I was curious on, is there currently any education projects in the works or being planned to address that issue? Because we could teach the children, but for that cycle for the children to get through to the parents is going to be a long cycle.
Well, there's two things. A, we're not going to educate any child going forward. We're going to teach. Educate is for animals. We're not animals. That's what it means. Education means training of animals.
Right. No, I understand that.
So we're going to have to teach. We're going to have to teach. I give a few ideas to the charter school group that's on MeWe. We're going to have to teach self-sufficiency, how to grow our own food, meditation, the spiritual side of things, how to not compete with your friends, as we all do. We've all done it. So we need to teach that aspect to children to allow them to expand and grow. No limitation. Education is limiting every single child on the planet.
I agree with that, yes.
So there are a number of new curriculums that we need to come up with, and that was just a few ideas where, instead of whacking the child across the head because they're messing around, go and send them out to meditate. So they learn to get into the calm and the balance. So there's no confrontation. There's no competition, and if the child is skilled at, for argument's sake, we had an example back in Liverpool. A friend of mine got to #1 in the charts with a boy band long before Backstreet Boys and all the other stuff. This was in the late 70s. And they got awarded a large contract. And the school told them he couldn't do it. And he wasn't academic. He just wasn't. He was a bit thick, to be quite honest. And he would say that himself. But, that was his talent. He was creative. Well, we don't value creativity anymore. We don't value art unless you're one of the establishments. We don't value music unless you sell your soul to get to #1 or sell all kinds of albums. Well, we have to change that also. And so, we would teach the kids to be creative, to expand their mind, to not, this is your set curriculum, you must learn this, whether you like the subject or not. Well, if the child is not skilled in mathematics, why put the child through it? Why not just a small portion of mathematics if they're skilled in, for argument's sake, after 14, in mechanics, or they're skilled in gardening? Why not enhance that skill set? Why keep pushing them into something they're not interested in and they're not particularly proficient at? It's not helping the child. You know, we're not like the wall where you put all the kids in the mincemeat and they all come out the same. You know, we have to enhance. And so with the charter school, I would be looking at 14 for vocational teaching. So if a child's interested in sport, then that's where they would go into. Why make them do history and all kinds of other crap if they're not interested, if their skills are in that field? And that's what we have to be far more flexible, cut out the rigidity and cut out the rubbish of the multi-choice questions where they give you the answer. No, that means you're not using your brain. If they give you one of 4 answers, that's not using your brain, because if you press A on every one, you're going to get at least 30-odd%. You only have to get lucky and a few more, and you've got to pass. That's not passing. And that's not teaching either. You know, and they've lowered the school marks. I spoke to one teacher. He says, I know you got a bit of a stick from some teachers about what you said in the show, but I walked out because they lowered the pass rate to 32. Well, 32 when I went to school was F, fail. And there's kids coming around going, I've passed all my exams. Not with 30-odd% you haven't. You've failed.
Yeah, and they find it out when they get out into the world and have to make a living.
Yeah.
So along the lines you were talking about, I had the same experience with my youngest son because he was diagnosed with Asperger's. And I told him, he was interested in mechanics. I told him, you tailor it to mechanics, he's going to do well. They sent him to a vocational school. He was in a special needs school. He was the first one who went to the vocational school for truck mechanics. And his grades went from just barely passing to, you know, being in the top.
Yeah.
So, and now he's a mechanic. He loves it. You know, more power to him. My question was more for, you got a lot of, let's say above 18 or above 14 people, and, getting through to them, to teach them, you know, to change their minds so then they can be more productive and, not being, sheep or blind or however you want to term it. So is there any kind of projects out there to, get across to these people and to help guide them to, you know, what the truth is and how to be functional and,
well, that was, like I said, they set up the charter school because there was a few teachers in the MeWe group who wanted to be involved in setting a curriculum for the charter school. I don't know how far they've gone. You know, I can't keep track of everything. But, you know, this is the type of thing that we would be encouraging is, you know, not everyone is interested in academia. I was one of them. You know, it just didn't interest me. I learned nothing in high school. 0. Does that make me unintelligent? Well, clearly not. But it just had no value for me. And I can't imagine being a child now with all the technology that we didn't have when we were kids. You know, there was no videos, there was no smartphones, cable TV. Place we barely had 3 or 4 channels on the TV. How are they going to be interested in the drivel that they're teaching in school when they can look up something far better on the internet with a quick search? It's not stimulating them, it's boring them to death. And that's when people like me who get agitated, who learn very, very quickly. You know, I've finished the lesson in the first 10 minutes. After that, I get bored and I wanted to mess around, you know, and I got into a lot of trouble. But because I'm not being stimulated, and we're not stimulating the children, they're just turning them down year by year to low light. Well, we don't want that. We want to change it. You know, so, you know, if you want to get involved in that, you know, I don't know whether the charter group, I know one of them left for Team Brother, so whether the charter group's still going. If it is, just mention it in the MeWe chat and they can add you in. You know, let's come up with a curriculum that's going to stimulate the child. All of them, not a select few that all get profiled and end up going into the clown programs. No, we want them for the country and the people.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
Okay, Sean, you have your hand up again. It's getting kind of late. We're up past the top of the hour, so let's try and keep things short.
She's still here.
I'm sorry?
If you want, it's okay.
No, I just don't know. I just want to tell people to keep it a little short now.
Yeah.
Willow. Come on, speak up, Willow.
Cut me off. Go.
Sorry.
Thomas, thank you so much for visiting us. It's wonderful that you're here. Thank you for everything that you do. We appreciate you and love you very much.
Thank you.
So I have many questions. I've got emails from many people of my travels, and they're hoping that the eco villages will begin. My thinking is that they've got 10 people to 20 people on social media in which once they plant themselves in an eco village, then they'll bring their friends. Then we'll have more people to garden and we'll have more people to build and I mean, I've got 20 people that really want to have a home.
Well, that was the idea. You know, the People's Club Village was multi-disciplines, because that's where you make the best use of the life force energy. It was the growing program. It was the sharing program. It was a meditation center. It was homes at cost plus 15%, mortgages at 1% and 2%, because the trust would create the mortgage. It would also create the insurance. And so it was self-contained village where we're bringing people who may not be like-minded to become as one unit. And if you build it, they will come. That village would appeal to a lot of people, particularly in THI. You know, and then we encourage other programs where the tiny homes are for people of 25 and under. People of 25 and under should not be going into $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 homes. That's why their relationships are failing, because it's not sustainable. So they can build up their little nest egg. They have a tiny home. That's all you need. You don't need to impress. We have to get away from this status, that a home is a status. No, it's a protection from the weather, the critters, and whatever else. That's all, you know. And so that's the idea of the village, is we would change the prices of homes. We would teach people how to grow. We would teach the children how to develop on all levels with the charter school. And then we would sell some of the excess food to people in the outside the community. Once you build one, they're going to be asking for loads of them, because that's the way people want to really live. They don't like, none of us really like with the way we're living, where we hardly know the neighbour anymore. You know, you're frightened to leave the door open or the window open. You know, that's part of the competition game of, I need to have more than the next person. Well, if we all have the same, and we all have the same needs, why do you need to go and steal off somebody else? you're going to cut down the crime rate if everyone has enough. So that's where the social program comes in as well.
My question is, because to purchase a land here, I mean, we have proposals in Mendocino. It's going to cost millions. I mean, what are the chances of getting funded to purchase that land so that we can get to work? I've got 20 people that want to work on that land.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we're being blocked now, as everyone knows. Some of the antics that was announced out of the Treasury yesterday doesn't augur too well at the moment. With the Treasury bonds nonsense. And then we've also found out today that they're printing super notes again from 2017 with Mnuchin's name on it. So that is part of the stimulus money that they didn't have. They're throwing out super notes again, and it will get blocked. But it depends how much they've pushed into the money pool with it. So it's kind of frustrating. We want to get on with certain things, and why we have to start off slow and build it up. But then, as time develops and people get more involved in it, we can branch out into many things, into housing, where the TPC, California becomes the bank, and so they would mortgage the home.
We have my son's. This is his last week in college for the summer. All these students, they want jobs. And they've had to leave their because the school's been closed. They've had to leave their housing that was provided for the university because they'd rather be home than be in the housing. So I mean, this is right now's the opportunity to get these college students.
Absolutely. I wrote a piece today about jobs. Unless certain things are changed, the outlook for jobs is rather grim. And we did warn of it, but that's then again an opportunity for the people to come together and we create our own. $5 a month from 1 million people. We can do a lot. We can buy lots of land. We can create our own jobs. Why wait for this? Because they're taking all the lower businesses away. This is what the show's consistently warned about. That, what I've been told today is a third of America's businesses are not going to open the doors again. 1/3.
Wow.
So those jobs are not coming back as it stands. And this is why we need to push the People's Club, where we can get grant funds in for certain projects in certain states and get going, where we're creating our own jobs. We don't need theirs.
So are you asking maybe, you said $5 a month from everyone?
No, whatever people can afford. I don't think there's a certain, no one who couldn't afford $1 a month, no matter what your situation is. It's all about how you manage. Does that dollar, obviously if you've got less than $100 a month for food, then that dollar is more vital. But not everyone's in that situation. If you've got a job, you can afford at least $1 a month.
Yeah.
It's about how you manage the funds. I remember saying on one show, as I did this myself, the ex-wife left me, was us, but it ended up me in a lot of debt. And then I wrote down everything that was spent for each month. And you think, I don't need that. And I really 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 don't need that either. And you'd be surprised at how much gets spent on each item. and you can go, you know what? Do I really need to buy a Starbucks coffee 2 or 3 times a week, costing me $12? Why don't I have one? And that $8 can go into knocking down my debt. You know, interest payments. I had interest at one point of $425 a month. The interest. You know, what a waste of money that is. And I managed to finally clear all that debt in February of this year. So, you know, it can be done.
It's taken that long?
Well, it was near $60,000.
Wow. That's, how long have you been here? 17 years?
No. That was pretty much in 2013.
Oh, 7 years still. That's a long time.
Well, I wasn't earning a vast amount.
Wow.
So, you know, I've done, I thought I was going to be past retirement age before I finished that.
Wow.
I'm kind of pleased that I've got it down and it's done. You know, so now I don't need as much money, so I help other people with it. You know, that's what I want to do, because I don't need much. You know, it's also, it helps that flow. Because that's part of the problem with the money system, is it used to flow between 7 separate entities. Now it's down to 1 and 2. Amazon's the perfect example. You used to have people who would grow the foods. Amazon took over the farm. You have the people who delivered the produce. Now Amazon took over the delivery. You used to have separate companies who would distribute all the Amazon stuff. Now Amazon took over that. And so Amazon just collects off every avenue. So they've got the whole pie. And that's how the old system worked. It just harvested it into the few. So suddenly now you've got less jobs, less companies, and everything's being funneled into these few giant conglomerates. Well, we can all change that. We can just boycott Amazon. Imagine if you've got 30,000 in each state operating in the People's Club. Why are we buying off Amazon? We wouldn't have to. We will create our own brand, which is for and by the people. And we would then approach companies. You know, I used the example of if we had people who analyse the expenditures of each state, and we found we're spending a lot on stationery, and most of us go to Staples, then we approach Staples to reduce the prices for our non-profit organisation. Otherwise, we'll build our own stationery company and put them as a business, operating in a cooperative way. And that's what happens when you build the numbers up. You can do anything.
So, to purchase a piece of land here would cost $1 million. In Texas, it may cost maybe, I don't know, maybe $100,000. So, is there a place in America that you think that a land can be purchased now to create the eco village that's feasible for what we have now?
I'm not proficient on American lands and what's available, but I'm sure there'll be some in the group who are. You know, just because it's THI California will become TBC California, doesn't mean to say you have to buy the land in California. And this is why I spoke about being flexible. You know, if it's only 10% of cost to buy the same land or more in Texas, why don't the THI members move to Texas and do the project?
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
You know, we all get stuck in one place. And I know I was in Florida for a while, but I moved 2,000 miles to be part of the job. So it's not like I'm asking people to do something that I haven't done, because I've done it, and there's certain places, California, New York, certainly the southern parts of Florida, DC, and certain parts of Connecticut, where you've got no chance of buying land. It's not cost effective. So we then should be looking at developing the middle states, because most of the middle states are empty. I'm talking about Colorado, I'm talking about Wyoming, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Kentucky. You can go miles and there's absolutely nothing.
Yep. Well,
why are we all crammed into cities on the coast when there's all this land in the middle? It's stupidity. Utter stupidity. So we can develop that land. We can create many villages and many towns. We don't have to destroy all the countryside. In fact, the eco-village will enhance the countryside. That's the idea of it. But it's just sitting there doing that. It shocked me. I've visited about 17, 18 states, but I used to watch Aerial America late at night to fall asleep to. And they're going, flying over the different states, and there's just vast, empty fields everywhere. Well, why are we all in high-rise buildings in major town centres? Well, that's their system. So, if you've got a project and it's funded, why spend $1 million in California if you can spend $100,000 and build the whole thing for $1 million in the next state?
Okay, Phyllis and Jim, looks like I'm going to have to relocate. Okay, so I just wanted to say, it would be wonderful to, once the Echo Village begins, we can have summer programs for the 14-year-olds and the Lyceum School in Russia, the 290 students that live there, they rotated cooking, cleaning, building. Exactly. Yep. All right, Thomas, I'll get in touch with you.
Well, that's the idea of the corporate business.
Yeah.
I've asked you all to do it on the Zoom calls, where give everyone a chance to speak. You can rotate the leader. So you experience that role. And this is something Liam's doing in his business now, where you're not just the shop floor cleaner. You can go and help someone with that job or get an idea and switch the jobs around. At least then you're learning, and it's something new. It's not the same thing day in, day out. And if you're tailoring the pay scale where there's not a vast amount of difference between the top and the bottom, because that has to change also, then who cares what job you do? And what we're doing then is encouraging people to learn several jobs, which enhances themselves, it empowers themselves, it helps the business, because if someone's off long-term sick, you can go, you fill in. We have to be more flexible, because what the system has done to us now has made us all rigid. I'm just a joiner. I'm just a bank clerk. I'm just this. No, you're not. I only live in this state. Well, why?
Because it's so beautiful here, and we've got great weather, and we've got the beach.
I get all that. I do get all that. I had it in Florida. But, you know, it's sometimes you have to go take the leap of faith.
I hear you.
That's what I did. I came to Winter Central from permanent sunshine. So I have done it myself. And I adapted very, very quickly. But we get caught into routines, which suits the system and the AI. They love people doing the same thing day in, day out, week in, week out, year in, year out.
Yep.
Because they've then mapped your whole life. Well, if you change, and that's what the difference, you know, I said it in a recent show, and I'm going to repeat it again on Thursday's show. If, let's use Sean. If Sean changes Sean, Sean's just changed the world. Why? Because Sean is now not going to meet the same people he met before, which changes their algorithms and their energy. That's why I said drive to work a different way. Why? Because you're going to meet people that you wouldn't have met if you drove the same way day after day. You've changed the algorithm of the AI that they're trying to create. So one person changing their life has actually changed the whole world. Now, if we all did that, and that's the power we all have.
I'm trying, but
you know, that's the power.
I'm
we
trying.
All have.
I'm doing, Thomas, every day.
Good stuff. I'm pleased to hear that. You know, many people have changed since being in THI, and that keeps me going and fills me with a lot of pride. You know, because, you know, we have to end little me limitation. No, if you change you've changed the whole world, because your interactions with different people are going to change, and their interactions are going to change, and it's the ripple effect. So if people actually realize
Thomas, but I need funding for it. I'm sorry, but I need funding for it.
No,
I'm taking care of a guy 24 hours a day.
Well, we would all like funding.
Okay,
I get that.
Am I complaining about it? I'm just giving reasons, my friend, my dear Tom's Giant Tommy. You know, I'm giving what is going on that's reality over it. And so I just really wanted to know, pardon me, Estella, I'm sorry, but let me finish, please, because it takes more than I could do, right, to be able to do this. I had asked for a loan. It kind of got requested without wanting to get requested for it. And I thought that, well, some other people need the money more than I do. I came into some money, and so I took care of it myself. That's how I am. I'm a self-reliant guy. And with Real Care, it's how do I manifest that? Well, I've got to have some backing. And I'm still working on it. I have pretty much, well, about little over half of it put together, and the rest I'll find out, my friend, okay?
Good.
I'm not living in a dream world. I'm living in reality. That's
Sean,
what I'm talking about with reality.
Sean, this is Kimberly. You have to step.
Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, honey. You have to step into your own power. Remember, we're all connected, but you are an individual expression of source. So you have to manifest exactly what you want. You have to focus on what you need and what you require, and then come to us for support. But you have to have a clear idea of what it is you want.
I've laid out a clear idea about 10 months ago, the first night that Jim had wanted me to. So I stayed up till 4:30 and I typed it all out. And it kind of got lost in Queenland. But yeah, it was there. And I have not had the time do it since then to repost it. Or 4 months ago, I did compile it again, post it, and, well, somehow, I don't know what the heck happened to it, but it was there, it was posted, and it is excellent, and it's a step-by-step plan.
Good.
Thank you.
I'm going to jump in here and say goodnight, folks. I'm fading fast, and Jim, I'm going to turn this over to you now, my friend.
Okay, thanks, Phyllis.
Bye-bye.
I'll cover for you.
Bye, Phyllis.
I'll cover for you. So there's 3 people in the queue. Who was first to have their, or any one of you that has their hand raised?
I have my hand
Hi,
raised.
Angela.
Hi, I'll just make it really quick. Just going back to education, this is one of my areas of a particular interest, or teaching. I did when my kids were little and they were school age. I did some research, and I don't know if this is the school that Willow you were referring to in Russia, the Shatinin school, where the kids go through the entire whatever our 12-year program in 2 years' time, and it's not really top down. They basically download the information from what I could understand. And it's a boarding school. Yeah, they stay there and they do their own cooking. They do their own architecting. They build their own buildings. They grow their own food. They cook their own meals. They sew their own clothing. They dance. They run through the forest every morning and dip their entire body in this cold water. And their vibration is so high that I watched this interview, this 9-year-old kid explain this problem to this guy who had PhD in all kinds of degrees, where you could see the light bulb go on in this, man, grown ass man, where this 9-year-old child explained this problem to him. So, and I've heard you, Thomas, criticize Steiner's school a few times. I did his 3-year teaching program to become and my kids started off at Waldorf schools, but I just couldn't afford to keep them there. And it's not a perfect school by any means, but he does have a lot of things that are beneficial to the developing child, and I just wasn't sure.
There is certain elements in it that are beneficial. It's like the New Age. It may sound beneficial, but it's actually not. And yes, there is certain teaching in those schools that are beneficial. And the reason I say that is all the elite children go to the Waldorf schools where they're training centers, not teaching. And so I've had, I was going to prepare a whole show on it, and I started writing it.
That'd be so good.
I got volumes of information, and all of it was negative of how some of the programs that were going on within those schools. I know all the Rothschilds go to the Waldorf. So that then
and I thought it was really interesting that it's a media-free school, right? And you see all the people, that are in the media, that are actors, have their kids there, and nobody's like, we're not supposed to watch like TV or.
Yes, it's kind of been watered down from the original because of funding, and we'll get, we'll entice the general public into it. I imagine the severity of it is lessened because there's more public people going than what it was originally. But essentially, I've spoken to Rothschilds, I've spoken to Carnegies, I've spoken to Rockefellers, we've spoken to the Black Sun people, etc., etc., etc. And they all went through that school where they have gone through the Sfarley training. For those of you who remember the Sfarley show, Illuminati 1 and 2. And then the next stage is the teacher in Waldorf Steiner is not the teacher, they're a trainer. And they're encouraging the children to discount the parents. And I've got reports in several countries of this happening, where they're doing stuff to the kids and they're telling the kids not to tell the parents. There were some really horrible things that were going on. Well, you know, that we can't tar all with the same brush, but Steiner was part of a continuation of Blavatsky. And a lot of, if you read Blavatsky, a lot of it sounds great. It's fantastic. But it's not how it was used. It was designed as a new religion. And the Waldorf Steiner schools are a continuation of the disconnect of the empathy and connection to other humans. Now, they're not going to do that with the public kids, but you have to be aware that they're running that behind the programs. And what the reason they introduced the public into the schools is so that we end up paying in part for their children as well. Because originally the Rockefeller Foundation was funding it. Well, you've all heard from Russia with Love and the references to what the Rockefeller Foundation was up to. You know, and so that's where I have a negative outlook on Steiner. But, you know, some kids will have done well from it. But the hidden message behind it is who they're involved with and where that program came from.
Well, thank you for because I couldn't figure out, like, I studied, you know, his stuff for years and
he talks, you know, I've read some his stuff, and a lot of it is on the face of it sounds fantastic. But you have to, if you read, to give you an example, if you read the Communist Manifesto, it sounds fantastic. It's about everyone sharing. Yeah. But was that the way that program was ran? No, it wasn't. It means you share to them and they keep it all. You know, and so it depends on how it's actually being ran and what are the programs behind it. You know, from our shows, you've all learned that the universities are involved with the agencies, all of them. The top colleges are all involved in the agencies, and it's a profiling centre where they harvest out the best students and the rest get discounted. You know, well, we can take aspects of some of Steiner's teachings and even some aspects of Blavatsky's teachings and develop it in a better way.
Yeah.
You know, we don't have to discount everything because, you know, like when you get some of the clans and the alt media, they've got to tell you part of the truth to pull you in.
Yeah.
So they can then get out the 95 or 90% that's BS. Simon Parkes is a classic example of that. Fulford's another. They will put elements of truth in the article. The rest of it is all rubbish or diversion. Or if you reverse it, then you find out the real truth. That's how we used to look at Fulford stuff, just reverse it. But so that's how they draw you into the program. The New Age sounded so much better than the church version. Well, they knew that. They knew that in 1880. That's why they introduced that program. They knew religion would start breaking down with the 3 planned world wars. Because people will then ask, well, why didn't God come and save us? So they introduced another program. That's how they work. And Steiner got wrapped into it. But there's a lot of stuff that Steiner said that is valued. Blavatsky also. You know, it's about filtering it. Yeah.
It's about dynamic gardening was also, like, you know, great. You know,
it's all about filtering. But the mention of the Russian people, what you'll find is they're Rus people, not Russian. They are old souls from the Rus. That's why they have those abilities. and the frequencies in northern Russia are conducive to that also.
Mm-hmm. Well, the school that I was mentioning is in Tecos, and the thing that was happening with these kids once they were done is there was no place for them in the world, in society, because and they ended up staying within the school and holding space for other kids, and so it kind of like it created, yeah.
What do you describe? They've created an elite, but then what we're trying to do with the school system is make everyone elite.
Yeah.
In terms of knowledge and learning. This divide and conquer, it's not working well for us on any level. So those children who have that ability need to be enhanced and go into that program as a bulk, not just one or two here and there. And that's where we have to develop and be flexible with the curriculum to get the best out of every child.
I'm with you. I want to go through the school system myself.
Yeah, well, me and schools just didn't get on, or teachers.
Thank you both for that. Is there anyone else that has a small project plan ready to go that they might need some help with? Anyone? If not, Thomas, if you want to call on anyone that you'd like to hear from?
Michael
J.
This will probably be my last one. I've got a few.
I think Michael left, Thomas, but I see Willow had her hand raised again.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, Angela, because I went through the teachers training program too. The damage I saw is that they use the myths and then they apply it through the English language for the children to learn the English language. So the program of the myths, like the Bible, the Norse myths, the Greek myths, are embedded into the belief system. Okay, that's one thing. Second thing is that they don't have a balance of art and the intellect. And I found not only the students, but the teachers too, they didn't have boundaries. And they didn't have that balance of the intellect in dealing with issues. I mean, my son was bullied, and even dealing with the teachers, the 5 council members, which are teachers, they're high school teachers, they just did not have the capacity. That's what I found. And then the last thing is that I just wanted to comment on Estella about the sound healing. You know, when I went to Dr. Tennant's institute, and he had one of the doctors on the stage, and she was doing that sound healing, and she told the story about a man came and she was doing the sound healing, and she says, you know, something happened at 14, but it's gone right now because I worked on it. So he says, no, nothing happened at 14. And so he called her a week later and said, yes, I do remember. There was a death in the family. So the sound healing took that away from him. So I'm on the fence of that. I still haven't got that figured out yet. That I'm sorry, can I just finish? In our inner processes, to use anything external, be it crystals, be it whatever, I think it's a disadvantage because you don't work through the processes emotionally, mentally, and come through it with wisdom. So, you know, I'm just on the fence with that sound healing because I keep hearing about it, and there are a lot of people in the group that are involved in it, but I'm just on the fence of it only because I had to do the groundwork through all the inner processes to get all the wisdom that I have, and it took. God, I just turned 60 years. And last Saturday. And it took 60 years to acquire the knowledge, the mental, emotional intelligence, and the knowledge of everything that happened to me in my history. And because I had to go through that step by step of processing it out, I gained wisdom out of it. I gained intelligence, mental and emotional intelligence, and I gained understanding. I gained understanding of inner processes. But if sound healing takes it away, then, it's an external force.
No, actually the voice is the vibration of your spirit. And we are energy. And in the void, we are a wave, a plasma wave of the universe. And we are multidimensional. And when we are here in the matter state with this body, we are connected to source. We are those plasma waves where we are one. We are one because we are all dancing in the universe. But right now, I am one in this body, but I'm connected at the same time. And my voice, if I'm able to work with my spirit and my soul and my body and my emotions, I become that expression. And when you go inward and you look at yourself and trying to find the answers, with just my breathing and my sound and my intention, I'm able to self-heal, balance myself. So,
I agree with that completely.
So it's all depends because I was able to learn to self-heal without substance. And it's been a journey since I was a kid. So everybody has their own different ways and I respect that. But I don't have memory of who I was in the past, but I do have like intuitive things that my body goes to because it feels familiar. And for me, like what Thomas said, we live with these rituals and we are like little robots because society brought into this doing things in the same way. Every morning you get the same cup and you make your coffee. What I learned, the neuroplasticity and with this simple example, if you stand and grab a flashlight and turn it on, you're only going to see what you're pointing. But we are multidimensional. You start to rotate that light and you start to see other things and you expand yourself with your self-knowledge and what you're discovering around you. So we are here to discover who we are. No matter, it doesn't matter how you take it, as long as you follow your self inside and nobody comes and tells you this is the truth, because your experience is your own truth and you can share with others and we respect each other and we can come up to a common denominator that, I found the same what you're experiencing. That's great. And we can share experience and we have something in common. But unfortunately, the ego is the one, we always trying to prove our existence, to prove to someone else, I'm right, you're wrong. And that's part of the ego because it's part of the program of competition. The moment you accept yourself and you're in peace with yourself, that you don't need to prove anything to anybody, the competition vanishes. Because you're doing
I'm sorry, I agree with everything you said, but what I'm saying is that you never need anything external to be able to heal anything internal. That was my whole point with sound healing.
But that's what I'm experiencing and what I myself go for that because, I'm super sensitive and emotional, and the day I master that, I can use my energy correctly. But not everybody understands that getting upset or getting emotional or trying to discuss something with someone else to get the point across, you're losing your energy.
Maybe I can help on this. Because both are correct. Because at the moment, most people are not tuned in to their junk DNA, which is not junk at all. It's your natural abilities. We've spoken about, we've all heard about the med beds. Well, if they were real, they would have been out because Rand is part of one of the biggest conglomerate corporate companies on the planet. So he's not short of funding. But there are machines where you can enter in for 1, 2, or 3 sessions where you come out with your cells 30 years younger. So everything goes back 30 years. And I am aware of those machines. Now, the key is memory retention. And there's where it comes in. The meditation practice, people go into the lotus, which is not a good thing to do. When you've heard from Russia with love, A through C. And then they go into a peace zone, and some use music. So that's the ritual of doing, where it's an external. But once you adapt on the internal, you can do meditation as you're walking with your eyes open. So both are correct, where the meditation you use the rhythmical beats and the music, whatever you choose to do. But as you develop your own skill sets, the external, as Willow said, is not required. But most of us don't have the knowledge or the wherewithal to be able to do it straight from the off, and we'll need external things. So you go into a frequency machine and it changes your frequency. Well, if you retain the memory of that frequency, you don't need to go into that machine anymore. So both are actually correct. And the key is, like I keep saying, is we teach this knowledge. We teach this to the children. We teach them what happens when you get drunk and it's actually not cool. We teach them what's in the spirit world. We teach them what happens when you take drugs. How many of you would still smoke the pot if you knew what you've been taught in THI? Well, some still will, and that's fine. It's your choice. But there's a lot will go, I'm not touching that. And this type of knowledge, the hidden knowledge that's been denied to all, needs to be taught to the children so it becomes a way of life. So yes, the external can help. I'm not an exact lover of crystals and some of the other stuff that is promoted in the New Age style thing, and yoga is another one. If you're going to do yoga, you have to understand that you're opening your portals. That allows host possession. So you have to shield before you do that. How many yoga teachers teach that? Well, answer is 0. Because they don't have them. It's not their fault. They don't have the knowledge. So these are the type of things that we're going to have to teach the children. But it's not cool to get drunk and drink more than your next pal. That's not cool at all. That's actually uncool. And this is what happens. And give them that type of teaching lessons. It may even be part of a curriculum where you bring in AA people into the class and say, this is what happened to me when I was drinking. Show them the example. Please don't follow me. I've got this illness, that illness, this sickness, that sickness. And if it saves one child out of the class becoming an alcoholic or hooked on drugs, then that program's worthwhile because you've saved one child. So yes, you're both correct. The majority of people are going to need the external source to then help them with the internal. But don't rely on the external. You can all heal yourselves. Each and every one of you just got to believe in yourselves and switch on your own abilities. So why would you need to go on a machine? Well, we don't actually need a machine for anything. Machine is just convenience, which then reduces our humanity and puts us where we are. The calculator is the prime example. You've got one. It's called your brain. You don't need to do that. We can teach children to become the calculator again. We don't need external technology, but you have to transitioning. I hope that helps. But everyone has the ability to heal themselves. So we don't need pills, machines, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, that's my whole point. This is self-discovery, you know, where you value yourself, you trust yourself, you love yourself, and everything aligns.
Yeah, most people don't, and that's the saddest thing no more. You know, how can you love somebody else if you don't love yourself? You can't. You're fulfilling an illusion of love. Because if you're not in love within yourself, how can you love, real love, which is a frequency and as is often misused in marketing ploys? Real love is a frequency. You can't really love somebody else if you don't love yourself. How can you go with zero love to love? You're going zeros and ones again. You see?
Can I show something quick?
Yeah, it'll have to be quick. It's getting.
Okay.
I've been on virtually on the phone since 1 o'clock this afternoon.
Sorry,
okay,
I was
just so you know, Estella, this call is going to automatically drop in 4 minutes. So
no, it's okay. Let's give you. You can give the last talk.
So I want to thank you all. It's just as much a pleasure for me to come and see you all and speak to you all, and keep going. You know, I know I had to shut down the state groups. That you have no idea the fun and games that's been going on. I know you'll experience it in your own group, but some of the antics that were going on and criminal behaviour, I might add, I had no option. But that doesn't stop the groups continuing with the right people, you know, and I'm pleased you're all carrying on, and I'm pleased that you're wanting to do projects and you want to add your own input, and I think it's fantastic. So it gives me the oomph to keep going on what is rather difficult times for us all, because we have to. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Thomas. For your generous
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you for your time, Thomas.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great week.
You
Bye for now.
Come back, Thomas.
I will.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
Bye now.
Good
Bye,
night,
everyone.
everyone.
Everybody, sorry I'm almost out of time.
Bye.
It's wonderful.
Mm.